Good Monday morning, everyone. It is episode 9 of Batwoman. I'm not going to waste any time. My God, this episode is pure cringe, heavy-handed, back on that track again, as if we ever left it in the first place. But without further ado, ladies and gents, here it is, Season 2, Episode 9, Rule Number 1, Monkeys, roll the footage.
Welcome to the place to be reviews.
I was a little frustrated. Batwoman, that's just a car. Somebody's watching this show. That really annoyed me. Batwoman is still doing quite well. It doesn't even look like Batwoman.
Peter, I'm really starting to question why I'm even friends with you in the first place.
Yes, we start out with some sad funeral for Kate music and some bullshit narration by Ryan as she's writing a letter to Kate telling her about the magical lesbian island Jesus Flower. As Jacob, Luke, Mary, Sophie, and Julia are at graveside. How awkward for Julia and Sophie. You know, as Julia has memories of Kate on Lesbian Island. Well, just lesbian memories, I suppose. I don't think Julia was ever on Lesbian Island. I'm not sure, though. But we pan back to Ryan writing her letter, and it's funny because Ryan makes the whole thing about her as usual, talks about the Jesus Flower, and, you know, Ryan's a victim, so it's always about Ryan, and she says, I'm not in your shadow anymore, Kate. I'm not in your shadow because I am Batwoman. And then we flip over to Jacob throwing the dirt over presumably what's left of his career as Dougray Scott. Then we pan over and we see Kate's necklace, and of course she's in the custody of Black Mask, aka Roman Sionis, and he says, "You sit tight, Kate. We'll make them believe in life after death." And that's when we go into this.
Peter, I'm really starting to question why I'm even friends with you in the first place.
So,
We come back with a reporter interviewing GCPD Commissioner Ford. And of course, he is on the steps of City Hall, and he's accosted by a young black girl who will later find out her name is Jordan Moore. Yes, she is the sister of Sophie Moore of the Crows, and they're talking about crime, and she's kind of grilling him about, you know, community outreach and things of the like, and what are you doing about this, and what are you doing about that? And he's like, hey, look, I've got to clean buildings off that you and your punk-ass friends like to graffiti tag. And she said,
so spray paint will get your attention, but not your own officers killing 4 unarmed black men this year alone.
Because that's what heroes do.
back over at Mary's apartment, while her and Ryan's shared apartment now. We see Mary and Ryan having breakfast together, and they look so happy, and it's such a content scene. And I'm not gonna lie, I had to take this clip and kind of do with it what I did with Tatiana and Alice in the sewer. I couldn't help it.
Right?
The lesbian!
So they're still sitting there having breakfast, talking and sitting and talking like the show likes to do. And then the door rings and Mary answers it, and she's like, oh my God, who could it be? Oh, I'm so shocked. Oh. And it's Angelique. Wow, what a shocker. And Angelique, of course, just walked in. Something smells good. And she's like, oh, hi, Ryan. How you doing? And then Mary's like, oh, I don't want to play 2.5 lesbians this morning. It's too early for the man in the boat, so...
Scissor me timber!
And Angelique's like, hey, would you like to sit and talk and have some feelings? And Ryan's like, yeah, why don't we talk and sit and have feelings? Because that's what superheroes do. You need to get up out the snakebite game. Then we have an exterior shot of the Cartwright house, where we remember Allison was held for 11 years. No, it wasn't 5-10 minutes.
Cartwright?
Then we go down into the basement, where Alice is laying in the room that Mr. Cartwright held her captive in for 11 years, on the same disgusting bed with the same disgusting sheets that have been down there. This house has been abandoned for probably a year. She hears a noise, thinks it's Sophia coming from Lesbian Island. She opens the door preparing to fight, and only finds a younger version of herself that she's manifested from unresolved trauma issues that she has not dealt with yet. You didn't think we forgot about Commissioner Ford, did we? Well, he's walking out the steps of Gotham City Hall, and he notices something out of the ordinary. this SUV just comes pulling up real quick like in front of him, and we see a glimpse of the mask on the driver here, which pay attention to a still that'll come up later. They gun him down right on the steps of City Hall, just because that's what these gangs do in Gotham, because the police are basically a joke, so much so they have to have the crows watch them. They notice the young black girl, Jordan, is back tagging the side of the building. "I'll show you," she says to the evil police. But then when the criminals turn on her, she's like, "I thought we were on the same side, Z's." And they start shooting at her, and she runs, of course, drops her spray paint can. Here's a shot of the driver. Again, as we say, oh, Jesus, who could that be? It's probably Angelique, right? And they chase her down an alley. And, of course, the one time the GCPD actually shows up, Jordan's like, "Oh, God, I thought the criminals would be on my side because we're both against the police."
You serious?
Our reporter's back in front of GCPD City Hall, and she's interviewing Roman Sionis, CEO of a cosmetics company. He's Black Mask. He's giving a statement saying that his employees, as well as the underrepresented, are terrified of the crime in the city, and he just wants to help. Anytime a CEO wants to help in a show like this, you know they always have evil intentions.
You're gonna fix that, right?
So after the hit on Commissioner Ford, Sophie and the Crows are reviewing the footage from the surveillance camera at GCPD headquarters, and they're doing this at the same time as Little Fox, Jesus Blood Mary, and Ryan are back in the Batcave, and both parties figure out that someone had infiltrated the security system, scrubbed 5 minutes from the footage, and then as they're looking at it, they see, because the chief's body is there 1 minute and not the next, and there's a discrepancy within 9 minutes of the film, and it's just, like you said, they make a point to show it to the audience, because I think that they're fairly certain that most of the audience that watches this show because they like it are complete brain-dead idiots, and those of us who review it can basically tell the difference between this garbage and regular good programming. So they're like, hey, Ryan's like, "Hey, wait a minute, I see some graffiti," and Mary takes a picture. Of course, it says "defund the police," and they're like, "Wow, how the hell do you know who it is?" And Mary's like, "Well, I use social media because, remember, I'm an influencer." So Sophie is leaving the Crows headquarters, and look at that sign. It says level 3 clearance only. She's going through the Crows parking structure to get into her SUV. Now, we know that Julia got stabbed by Alice in here. Jacob and Sophie were abducted in the Crows parking structure. She wheels around, feels somebody in the back seat, aims her gun. Oh, look, it's her sister Jordan, who's like, "The False Faith Society, they're after me. I gotta hide." And Sophie's like, "We can protect you." And I'm like, "How the fuck can you protect anybody? You can't protect yourself." Then V for Vendetta shows up and says, remember, the 5th of November, and smashes the window out. And then the plague doctor's on the hood of the SUV, and Batwoman shows up and, of course, beats everybody up and stands there and is like, "Yeah, look at me, I'm Black Woman." Da-na-na, da-na-na. Jordan's like, "Oh, wow, it's Batwoman. She saved the day." Well, maybe.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
And can we just take a moment to acknowledge the fact that the police agency, law enforcement agency that has usurped the GCPD's authority in Gotham basically has had a handful of attacks and abductions on their top brass in their own damn parking structure. I mean, what kind of security are you running, and who would trust you with the security of a city, you fucking mental retards? So meantime, Jordan and Sophie get out of the SUV. They're talking to Batwoman. Batwoman's asking Jordan questions, so is Sophie, and nobody has seen this on any of the security cameras in the parking structure. Sophie's SUV is smashed up. There's been a shot fired from her service weapon, and there's goons laying on the floor, and Batwoman's like, "Yeah, so what's going on, then?" And no, really, though, Jordan describes the female getaway driver and her bracelet, and in Ryan's mind, or Batwoman, she's like, "Oh shit, I know who that is." She threatens the goon. She says she's not gonna say anything. "You tell your boss it's over." Yeah, because that just works. Telling the bad guys to stop works. Meanwhile, back at the old residence, Alice is still in the basement having a tea party with all of her friends. And the only good thing about this scene is we, of course, get to see Rachel Scarston chewing the scenery, as she does every time she takes the screen and center stage. Well, I mean, center stage is relative in a show like this, but let's be honest, she is far and away the best thing about this show because she's the only one who can outact this piss-poor writing that Caroline Dries and the rest of these idiots have thrust upon this cast. So Ryan goes to visit Angelique and tells her, amongst other things, that she knows she drove the getaway car in the shooting that killed Commissioner Ford, and she knows the False Face Society will kill her if she does. But Ryan says she knows Batwoman, and that's her way out. And if you're wondering why I don't go into more detail on a lot of these scenes, it's because the dialogue is meaningless, it's cringeworthy, it's garbage, and frankly, I don't have the energy to cover it after the rest of the shite that I have to do. Little Fox and Jesus Blood Mary are chastising her for it, and they say that if Ryan doesn't call the cops, they will. And why the fuck wouldn't they? The sheer mental gymnastics that Ryan does to try and justify Angelique's actions, and Jesus Blood Mary threatens to turn her in because of what happened to her mother, Catherine Hamilton, as a result of Kate not having Alice arrested when she had the chance. Julia and Jacob are at Kate's grave discussing Kate's death, and he's still not sure Kate's dead or why he's still on this show or how every woman in Gotham is a lesbian that slept with his deceased daughter. So Jacob looks at Julia and he's like, "Are you sure you're a lesbian? Because, like, I really think you're fucking hot." And, I mean, she's like, "Yes, I'm pretty sure I'm a lesbian. I know I was, yodeling in the valley with your daughter." And Jacob's like, "Oh, fuck this show then. I can't even get laid. What? Joss Whedon can get ass and I can't. Look at me. Jesus Christ, my career is in the fucking shitter." And Jacob at this point really has to be depressed because he's got to work with 2 dime pieces that banged his daughter, and he's stuck in an absolutely pathetic role with no direction, and his career looks like a complete joke at this point. So Sophie and Jordan show up at like the Muff Diver or the Booby Trap or the, I don't know what the bar is called, but Sophie and Jordan get there. It's the lesbian bar. And Ryan is, of course, tending bar, and Jordan orders a vodka and club soda or whatever the fuck she gets. I don't know. It's the same thing I drink. I might be a lesbian. And they discuss her whole plan to stop the crime in Gotham after she calls Batwoman cringe.
But she's so cringe.
And Ryan gets a little bit salty at this, which is absolutely hilarious. A little bit of salt in the wound there by Jordan.
Harsh words for someone who just saved your life.
Then Jordan picks up on a lesbian vibe between Ryan and Sophie, and she's like, "Hey, why don't you two
Scissor me timber!
And what would Batwoman be if we didn't sit and talk about lesbian feelings?" And Jordan says to Sophie, she's a lesbian, you're a lesbian, why don't you two get together and, do the thing, flick each other's beans or whatever you do. And she's like, what's wrong with her? And Sophie's like, well, no, see, I only like kosher lesbians, and I don't think she's kosher. And Jordan's like, what the fuck does that even mean? And Sophie's like, look, bitch, I got a phone call, I gotta go, hang on a minute. Sophie slips away to call Little Fox and ask him to have Batwoman look into the driver's bracelet because it'll take the Crows months to process that kind of evidence. What the fuck kind of investigators are they? Are they just like that worthless? They must be. So Little Fox and Jesus Blood Mary are discussing what to do about Angelique because they both want to turn her in. And Mary, in this scene, calls Angelique Ryan's lesbian Achilles heel. Angelique calls Ryan to have her help because she said, "You really know Batwoman, right?" And Ryan was like, "Yeah, bitch, I know Batwoman. So hang on, let me have her come over to your apartment so we'll get the lesbian!" But no, her apartment is completely trashed and Angelique is gone. Angelique actually said, "I got into this thinking I found some kind of family."
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
Yeah, a family of murdering drug dealers. That sounds about right and on par with the writing quality of this show throughout the last season and a half.
So
we see Angelique being held captive by Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask, as he threatens her by showing her a dead body. Apparently someone wasn't happy with their False Face membership rewards program, and he asks if she wants to proceed with terminating the membership at the current time.
Okay, now to be fair.
I mean, to be fair, Angelique is a bit of a twat, and she's an idiot on top of all that because she got into dealing drugs because she thought it would be a sense of family for her. So she kind of deserves to die, to be honest with you.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Batwoman gets the location of where Angelique is being held, and she shows up and is immediately surrounded and beats down like 6 or 7 people. And have no fear, DJ Itep Wakuin is here with the correct musical interlude for this fight sequence.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning.
But she finally takes some wood to the face and wakes up tied to a conveyor belt. And Black Mask cuts a guy in half because he's Black fucking Mask and he's a violent criminal. Black Mask tells Batwoman that his daughter went to prison and was killed by Batwoman version 1.0, and she pleads with him to release her. And Sophie saves the day by gunning down random goons, and they save Angelique. And in one scene, we have Batwoman, Angelique, and Sophie in the same scene.
The lesbian!
Sophie is taking Angelique's confession, which she says she shot the chief, and Sophie tells Ryan that Angelique confessed because Black Mask threatened to kill Ryan if she didn't take the fall for the murder. Of course, Jordan starts rambling about broken criminal justice systems, and we get that sweet, sweet social justice content. Sophie tells Ryan that Angelique is going to prison and gives Ryan the bracelet that Angelique was wearing, which Ryan gave to her. And it's a hot mess of SJW writing and trash. Apparently, Jordan is smarter than Sophie because the show needs her to be.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Julia Pennyworth is at Crow's headquarters, and she is investigating the airport and Kate's fatal flight. She's connected to someone who claims he had been speaking with her regularly for about a month before this call, and she realizes someone else is investigating the incident and posing as her when Kurt, the man at the other end of the phone that works for the airport, says, "Yeah, don't you remember me saying something about your accent?" So Ryan goes to the Batcave and tells Little Fox and Jesus Blood Mary she's establishing the 3 rules of the Bat Team. Well, I mean, who the fuck elected her the writer of the rules? I mean, let's be honest here. If anybody, it should be Little Fox, not because he's a man, but because he has the most time in at Wayne Enterprises and the most knowledge of the bat tech. But hey, you know, fuck me, right? Logic be damned, and he's an evil man. Even though he does check a box, he's still an evil man. So let's see. The rules of the Bat Team. We have each other's backs. We hold each other accountable. We stand for something bigger than ourselves. And then she tells Luke and Mary that she wants to help Jordan more with her community center and essentially spending Wayne Enterprises' earnings on things that don't concern Wayne Enterprises. Isn't there a board of directors or shareholders to answer to? Which is hilarious considering that they would probably be ecstatic to learn that all this is transpiring without their knowledge and the use of their funds.
Oh, what the fuck ever?
Oh, have we forgotten about Alice? Well, she goes with herself to dig up her dead cat per request of herself. And in her head, the cat is alive, and Alice is realizing that she's having that psychotic break that we talked about earlier. She has no idea how to deal with grief. Alice says she can imagine herself in a world where Kate never existed, and this scene is just a Rachel Skarsten showcase, and that's about it. There's really nothing to be gleaned here. This brings us to our final scene of the show when Black Mask and his girl pay Kate a visit. We find out that she's Enigma and that Kate's face got messed up when she fought his men when they were pulling her from the plane, and it didn't go well for her, says Enigma, or Black Masker. None of it makes sense anyway. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Enigma takes Kate's necklace off and tells her, "You won't be needing this because it's time to say goodbye to Kate Kane." When we return, I don't know. There's not another new episode until April 11th. Oh, God. This show was horrible. Like, Black Mask was, I mean, I don't know if they're going to develop him and use him as a villain the second half of the season. But, I mean, if they butcher him the same way that Birds of Prey did, and Enigma is... I mean, the last time I think we saw Enigma in live action, sans the Gotham show, if he was in that, was, what, Batman and Robin with Jim Carrey, I believe?
Peter, I'm really starting to question why I'm even friends with you in the first place.
This episode was terrible. It was Rule Number 1 was the title of it. It's episode 9 of season 2. You'd think they would advance this story a little bit more by now. You've had 9 episodes and you've literally done nothing but give us garbage writing, horrible acting. outside of Rachel Scarston. Ryan Wilder's a joke. The character's shit. You've recast Kate Kane. Wallace Day, the actress, will be stepping in and playing Kate Kane. I'm sure once they repair her face or whatever they're going to do, they're going to make her look different. And that's how they're going to explain the fact that they didn't want Ruby Rose back, even though she was more than willing to come back. So it begs the question, what the hell happened between Caroline Dries, the idiots at the CW, and Ruby Rose to make them turn their back on her in such a manner when she was willing to come back after she quit? But I can't help the showrunners probably feel like a little bit, scorned, like a scorned lover, like maybe a lesbian lover.
The lesbian!
But seriously, though, this episode is absolute shit. None of it made sense. They're just throwing scenes together in these episodes, and they're like, here's continuity, and everybody watching at home is like, that's why when I'm writing these, things might seem out of order when I review them, but it's as seen, and it's like these sequences, some of them don't line up. Absolutely terrible. I can't even fathom how much worse this show is going to get in the back half of this season. So we'll be back with another Batwoman review on Monday, April 12th. Stay tuned for your minute daily videos every day. There'll be a couple other long form videos coming out this week. We've got episode 145 tonight, Monday night going in Raw, going Rogue on Wednesday, and then Thursday mornings with the Place to Be reviews. I'll be on Rogue 4 tomorrow night on Enter the Unfamiliars channel. Until then, I'm Itepo Queen of the Place to Be reviews. I've been here with all the yous. And remember, if I don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow, and I'll catch you on the next one. Star-Lord, play me out.
Boom!